Morning people, it's the following day, and if you haven't watched my previous video, I suggest you do. It's good. Now I will say, well, really, my name's Hannah and I'm the C5 nut. Well, you guys will know that. Yeah, I was actually, like my last video with Shiny. Yeah, I said that quite a lot, but yeah, I was high on fumes. I mean, them paint fumes are really good, really good. Yeah, forget taking drugs. Yeah, all that stuff. Right, so I wasn't planning on doing another video on Cecily the C5, but there's some things that sort of drive me nuts. And that's because people fit aftermarket stereos into the C5s and not wire them up correctly. Now, I'm a bit of electronic boffin. That's what I do in motorhomes. All electronic stuff. I deal with all that. But yeah, the one thing that people don't understand is alright fitting a sort of universal stereo, aftermarket stereo into a C5, but you've got to do one thing. So, today's video, sorry about that, still trying to recover from the paint fumes. So today's video is basically explaining to you guys how you should fit an aftermarket stereo into a C5. So I got the lovely car back in to the workshop, and I noticed yesterday that even with the ignition turned off, you can still power up the stereo. How can I do this thing? I hate these things. It's not sitting in there because the stereo is like half hanging out. As it just boots straight up. Now, the reason behind that is if you were to pull the stereo out, which I had before, now all I've done is just plug straight in. Yeah, at some point it must have had like a Bluetooth or something, but there's a break in this wire just here. There's a break in that wire just there as well. I'll be sorting them out because I'm not happy with that. I mean, at the end of the day, this is behind the stereo. If it was to short out, it will cause mayhem on the systems on the C5. Now, I'm just going to quickly unplug the stereo. And I'm trying to do this one-handed. There we go. Right, now this side, this one here, is the speakers. So, no issues with that, that's perfectly fine. This one is the one that I'm having issues with. Now, most of these cables, you've got a power and an earth, but the what's the word I'm looking for? Right, so you got two big wires. So you got this yellow one that is connected to this green one in the same plug. Now that's the earth, that's fine. And then you've got this big grey one, which is the 12 volt feed, which runs, basically through the fuse box to the battery. But the rest of them, all these small ones, are basically data cables, and they go into the BSI. Now, even though this red wire is connected to one of these data lines, yes, it may work, but, and there's a but, just because you found 12 volts at one of these small wires doesn't actually mean that it is connected to, say, like the fuse and then into the BSI. Some data cables on the C5 actually run at 12 volts instead of 5. So basically this is a data line, and the stereo, even when you put a CD and all that, at some point it may reach 5 amps, it may reach probably 10 amps, depending on the stereo you fit. That's a lot to put on these wires. It's even a lot if it's on a data line, and it causes mayhem with the computer. You know, literally causes mayhem. You know, on the throughout the whole system, basically. It might even because, you know, because the stereo is linked to this data line, that might explain possibly what's going on with this bloody voltage readout. So you just got to be careful when you fit a stereo to do it in the right way. Now, you can buy the adapter kits, and you always see that the red wire is separate to this plug here. It sort of goes onto a much longer sort of lead, and the reason behind that is this red wire is a switched, right? So when you turn the ignition on, you put 12 volts on this red wire, it puts the stereo on. The yellow wire is just a memory. So, you know, whatever, if you set it onto, say, like channel 1 or channel 2, and you had the volume set to sort of like 13 or 14, whatever it's set to, this yellow wire remembers what settings the stereo was on. So, I don't have an issue with this yellow one. That can stay put because it's on that nice thick cable. The issue I got is this red wire. And to get away, you know, to get around this is disconnect this red wire, extend it so it's a good sort of like, I don't know, half a meter long, whatever you want to call it, just enough. And I tell you what, let's just remove this aerial, doing this one-handed. Right, now the only other way you could go is find the fuse box and piggyback off that, but there's a much easiest way, and that is if you pull this cover, lift this up, that will pop off like so. Grab hold of this bottom bit, lift that up, that should then come out. Again, trying to do this one-handed, so that comes out. Now you see this cigarette lighter? This cigarette lighter down here is actually a switched. So when you turn the ignition on, it then puts power onto that. So what you want to do is you want to find the wires for it and note which wire is which, and then basically link this red wire to this cigarette lighter, and that will then make the stereo do what it needs to do. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to stop the video just about here. I'm going to quickly pull this plug off, and then I'll show you which wiring you need to connect. Okay, so I've now pulled the plug out from the back of this cigarette lighter. Now you see a green, and see if I can zoom in, there we go. So you've got this green and yellow, that's an earth. You've got this little orange wire, that is like a little light. There's some cigarette lighters have like a little light that lights up when you turn the lights on. So we don't want this orange one, but we're interested in this pink one. Now this pink one is the one that you want to connect to this red wire of the stereo. So again, what I'm going to do, guys, I'll stop the video, I'm going to link a nice wire from here straight up to this one, and then I'll bring you back. Okay guys, so I had a look in my odds and sods bin that I normally have at work, and I came across this nice pink wire with a proper connector on it. So I'm not going to cut this red wire off at all, because no doubt at some point, you know, you never know what happens with these stereos, but you know, somebody might actually want to take it out and shove it in their own, you know, a different car. So at least by having that, they can just unplug this and connect, you know, reconnect it up again. The pink wire is yeah, like I said, I found it from my odds and sods bin, but it had a proper plug. It's also long enough to actually go down through the back here. Now on the actual plug, there was this blue clip. Pop the blue clip off, and as you see here, you see these little tangs just on the side here. If you lift them up, these will actually come straight out. Is what I've done with this one here. So I've soldered the wire correctly and put a nice bit of heat shrink on there. All I'm going to have to do is pop that back into here, and that's that one done. And then somehow, not entirely sure how, but I would like to try and somehow sort these wires out, because yeah, they're not good. It's only 2 of them, but you know, I just don't want to yeah, it's just asking for trouble if I leave it, you know. Like I said, those wires only got to catch the side of the radio and it causes mayhem. So right, I'm going to reattach this. I'm going to reattach it back down where it needs to be, and I'll see if I can get these pins out and put some heat shrink on these, and then I'll bring it back. Look who showed up.
Hello, where do you want me to put her?
We can put her across here if you want, and I'll get the other one along. Yeah. My dad's just had went to drop Jessie off. My parents look after Jessie from time to time, and said, you know what, let's bring the C5 down for a photo shoot. Well, couldn't resist, could I? Alright guys, so again, like I say, my parents came down, my mum's looking after me dog, my dad's here with me, and we couldn't really miss the opportunity of taking some photos. And believe it or not, both of these cars have the same engine in it. This is the one I rebuilt last weekend, and this thing, yeah, this car's an absolute amazing. I mean, she's done a ton of miles, and when I mean a ton, she's done how many miles?
244,000 miles on the same engine.
244,000 miles on the same engine and gearbox. And that's what I mean. These engines are really unusual for when the head gasket goes. That's why it baffled me with this one. You know, this one, it still doesn't, you know, I still can't get my head around it. But this thing, you know, this is what happens when you look after a good engine. It lasts. Okay, it's got a bit of an oil leak around here, but that's, you know, that's nothing. That's like a 2-minute job. We will be doing some work to this hopefully soon, like a timing belt again. But, and the only difference is this is an SX, right? This is an LX. So you notice the difference between the quality of, like, this car, the SX, coloured mirrors, coloured stripes, the LX, black mirrors, black stripes, and including this car here, okay, has electric windows. Okay, it's got a sort of dashboard there, you know, a nice digital dashboard, right? You go into the back, and this has got electric windows. Right, let's have a look at my parents' one. Well, it's both actually. Me and my dad co-own this one, but look, okay, it's got electric windows, but has the old style switches. And then you get into the back. Oh, you can't. Okay, I can't get in the back of this one, but can we get in the back of the other one?
Yes.
Okay, so I got some work to do on this one. Oh look, we can open this door. Let's have a look. What on earth was that? A good old windy window thing, innit? Jesus Christ. You see that, you know, the difference between the LX to the SX, and the SX has got these roof rails, but the same with the exclusives, they've got these on as well. Mind you though, the V6 hasn't, has it?
No.
But this hasn't got any rails in it. And not a lot of people actually know, but this is one of 3 white C5s on UK roads right now. One of 3. That one is a good, what, 200-300 I think last time I seen it. It was more popular than my green one. But yeah, one of 3 on this one. It's nuts. It really is nuts. And the interior of the boot, basically it's all the same. You know, this one still has its original blue packing that someone hasn't taken off yet. You know, and it's still got the old parcel shelf. And the same with this one over here. Let's have a look on this one. You know, same sort of carpet, and the same sort of thing. You pull these out and they slot in. It's the same across the board. Even my exclusives have got these as well. It's nuts. It really is nuts. But you have reminded me one thing though, Dad. There was one other thing that the owner did ask me to check, and that's this button thing.
Oh yes.
Now these are notorious for the wires to break, so we will try and look into that. Yeah, that one's just well, there's the old switch.
Yeah.
And I'm pushing the switch, it's just not working. But yeah, the other thing that is quite common is these shaft spindles. These are seized up. That's why Dad's is missing a wiper, but that one, I don't know if it works, but I don't want to try just in case I break it. But yeah, difference, isn't it, really? So guys, that was nice of seeing my parents, and got me dog back. There's my parents goes. Yeah, one of 3 white C5s left on the UK roads. That is nuts. We are going to change the wheels on that car. We've got a new set of alloy wheels to put on it, so yeah, we are going to take those steel wheels off and refurbish them. So in the meantime, we are going to fit alloy wheels to it, and then hopefully come the National, which is just over a month's time, we will put the original wheels back on again, purely just for the show. Okay guys, that was nice seeing my parents. Right, so obviously just a recap. Had a bit of fun out there taking some photos. Right, so I've now sorted out this wiring. I couldn't get the pins to come out the plug, and I didn't really want to try and force them, so I put some strong, this isn't standard like electrical tape, this is like the fabric type tape. It's called loom tape, is what they manufacturers use. I use this all the time. It's brilliant stuff, you know, brilliant stuff. So I've put some of that on. It's got this red wire attached, so that's how it is now. That one, because it's got protecting on it anyway, I'm happy with that, just left loose in the in the back there. So I'm just gonna somehow fit this one-handed in the hole like so. I'll just shove it in there. Now when you then turn the key on to the ignition, it will then hopefully put the stereo on, see? And then when you turn the ignition off, the stereo goes out as well. That's what it's meant to do. Yeah, that's how you wire up a C5 basically. Well, a stereo for a C5. So ignition, gonna go back on, turn it on, and the stereo comes on. Lovely, lovely. Right, now I'm gonna quickly sort the stereo out and put the old bits back together again, and yeah, we'll have a look at the rear tailgate. Okay guys, so I've just had a quick look at this rear tailgate. Obviously I bypassed it by taking the internal cover off and triggering the mechanism, but looking on inspection, you see the wires here. There's two wires that go into the glass. They actually run across down here to here. Now they are notorious for breaking, but in here where the main harness goes into the car, on closer inspection, it's actually got a few breaks in there. So instead of just messing around trying to take the interior out of the car to fix it, we are going to readdress this at a later date. So yeah, at some point we may, well, you never know, we may not, but I would like to think at some point we may get our hands back on this car to then sort this issue out as well. Owner's just messaged me. He wants me to have a look at the aircon again, so we're going to be replacing the condenser, so we will do a video on that. But yeah, just for like the radio side of things, yeah, that's really what we got to do. I told the customer on how bad this is. I mean, in certain lights you just see how bad it is, you know. Yeah, it's so bad, you know. So yeah, I might get the old polishing wheel out and see if I can do something with it, but yeah, that's quite bad. Don't know if you can see all the scratches there. What did they clean this up with? A Brillo pad? Jeez. Right, well, I got my dog back. It's nice and sunny just for the minute, but we have got a few black clouds coming, so yeah, it won't take too long before it will start raining again. Right, where do we go? Well guys, I'm going to leave it here because I'm not kind of feeling very well, not because of COVID and all that. It's because the weathers are changing. My arthritis in my ankles really giving me a lot of pain, so I'm going to just try and take it easy today. So yeah, I might do some more work on this car, possibly later on today, to try and sort those scratches out, but I won't bore you with the video on that one. So the next video will be get the car back in to change the condenser for the aircon. So if you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. And well, I may do a video, well, I will do a video on this car again. So see you next time.